Okay, we are nearing the end of cosplay builds for me for the year. I only have one cosplay left to build, and that is Rosie from Hasbin Hotel, which is actually kind of out of the ordinary for me. I do not usually pick dresses. Um, in the past, I have done things that look dressy, like we have Mao Mao, which was my last costume, but that is Hanfu, not technically a Western style dress. I have done Rukia, which was Hakama. Uh, while it looked dressy and pretty because it was white and glittery, it was still not a dress. And then pretty much everybody else I cosplay is in pants or power suits or some kind of like armor or leather. So this is kind of a change of pace for me to go to making a dress. I have plenty experience making dresses, having been a sewist for most of my life. It's just not something I prefer to sew. But I really kind of wanted to participate in the Hasbin Hotel fandom, and Rosie was one of my favorite characters. So I am going to be thrifting this entire costume for the most part. I do buy wigs. I don't like using secondhand wigs. I just don't feel comfortable with the like germ situation. I can wash clothes, but I don't want to stick a wig in the laundry. That would be a mess in and of itself, and I don't trust that I can hand wash a wig thoroughly enough to get past my germaphobe tendencies. So I did purchase a wig. And I did purchase contacts for this one, but other than that, everything that I have on this costume is thrifted. We're going to start this week by making the dress. This dress started out as 3 different thrifted dresses that I got for $6 and a doily that I dyed it black years ago for a different project, never used it, and I'm using it now, and that doily was a whole 50 cents. So the total material costs for this dress was $25, I think. I do have other trims and things that I use on the dress, but they are things that I already had in my stash or were donated to me. So I feel like I did pretty good on thrifting the items in this dress. I did a lot of watching of this show, obviously, and one thing that I realized kind of after I had decided on a mermaid silhouette is that during the dance part where Rosie is dancing in the show, her silhouette goes from being a mermaid to flaring out to a full skirt, and I had already planned on a mermaid skirt. I did not have enough material in order to like make a full skirt all the way like hips down. So this is going to be a mermaid skirt, and I think it still has the same character structure as what we get in our character in the show. There are limits. Characters in shows will do things that are not possible, and having something that has that slim of a silhouette while also allowing you to do large kicks is kind of basically impossible. I don't have the engineering skills in order to figure that one out. So in order to keep her main silhouette of the mermaid shape, I have decided to go with a mermaid style skirt on my dress. Other things that I did, where I was needing some trims, I recycled a dress into some of my trims. And any extras that I had left over from making the dress, I'm actually going to use in making her hat. We're not going to get super crazy and getting more materials. We are trying to match the hat to the dress. So I am going to save every single scrap that I have left over from building this dress to making the hat. After that, I will style the wig. And this is the 3 main parts. I don't really have any other parts to this cosplay to build. It is pretty straightforward. It's not super complicated. And I'm excited to get working on it. This is the dress that I am working with for the main base of Rosie's dress. I am going to be using this top portion here, but it is a little bit too small for me, so I am going to need to put in some spacer. I'm gonna hopefully be able to open up this seam and put a little bit extra in here in order to get some closure in the back. And then I'll detach it from the skirt. And put the bottom part of the skirt here with this hoop skirt that I have found in my closet. So the bottom or the skirt from this dress will actually be moved down to that bottom part. And then here in the middle, I have a different dress in kind of like a purpley tone color that will be the kind of tighter mermaid part of the dress. So it'll be two dresses put together to make the one dress. This is my pants pattern, my pattern block for my pants that I generally use when I'm making pants. I am not going to need this kind of like swoop part here. That's what would go kind of like in between the legs on the pants. So we're gonna cut that off and then cut it here at the knee-ish in order to get the kind of tighter skirt part of the dress. And then we'll mock it up and see how it fits and see if we need to make any alterations. With the idea ready for the tighter portion of the skirt, I can start disassembling these dresses that I'm going to use for the different parts of Rosie's dress. This particular dress, I am only using the bodice up here, and then the skirt will be down below the knees. I am using two parts of this in the main body of the dress, but I do need to separate the skirt from the top because I will be putting different fabric in the middle. So here I'm just kind of removing the bodice from the skirt and taking off the zipper that was on this dress, since that original zipper was kind of busted up and didn't work anyway. So here are the pieces kind of blocked out the way I want to see them arranged. I kind of just wanted to see it all together to get an idea of where I was going with the final piece. Okay, so this is my first mock-up for the, I guess the like upper leg part of Rosie's skirt. It's kind of hard to see. Let me see if I can get a better adjustment here. Okay, so essentially I tried to use my pattern block for pants, because I never made a skirt one. I don't generally wear skirts, so I used my pants block pattern to make the base of this, and then I just like grabbed and tucked fabric as far as I could go to like cinch this in. It's as tight as I feel comfortable going and still being able to walk. So that's as good as we can get it. I feel like I took this in quite a bit. This ended up being, I kept cinching it, and I think my brain was like I kept pulling it higher and higher. So this is a little bit higher than it needs to go. We'll probably only need about that much height. But having this extra height will give me a little bit of leeway. And the back isn't looking too bad. I think we're pretty good. I'm gonna need to like round out some of these areas where I tucked it and obviously like did a quick sew on it. So like I know this is how tight I want it to be around my knees, and I know like this is how tight I want it to be here. We just gotta kind of like curve it when we do the actual pattern so that it's a little bit smoother and not like kind of chunked in the angles. So that will hopefully smooth out when I go to make the actual pattern. But yeah, we're looking pretty good here. So I think I'm gonna draft it out. Maybe if I have time, I will make another mock-up of this. I am running on a super tight schedule while trying to make this, so we'll see what we can fit into my schedule to get this done. All right, with the first mock-up done, I need to make a couple of adjustments onto it. So here we are kind of adjusting the original mock-up and trying to get ready and kind of narrow down the actual fit on this skirt. With the first alterations done, I feel like I'm kind of narrowing in on the size and fit of this skirt. What I want to do now is try to make the seams on these darts and skirt match up with the bodice that I have already existing from the original dress. So I'm going to move some of these darts over and then kind of change where my side seam is so that it kind of better mirrors what we have going on up top, so it doesn't look like I just slapped something that doesn't match onto this bodice piece. And then once I have everything kind of matched up a little bit, I am going to like mark where I've made all of these changes, and then I can take it back over to the machine and make those changes to the original mock-up. So this is the mock-up that I made. I have disassembled it, and now I've taken it over to this original pattern piece that I made and marked out where the changes are that I made on my mock-up, where I need to take off extra fabric and adjust the dart, and I can now use this to make a second mock-up. This is skirt mock-up number 3. The reason I decided to do a mock-up number 3 is because I wanted to take the darts out of the front of the skirt. So I had to squish it in and like really curve out the sides of this pattern in order to compensate for not having those darts in there anymore. And the reason why I did this was because the front of this thrifted dress that I'm using to make the skirt has these really great pleated gathered details, and I really wanted to preserve that. So I couldn't dart the fabric because it would interfere with that design shape. So by altering my pattern to not have darts, I can use this beautiful design element as an actual part of my dress. And I do kind of like being able to work like that, where I can use design elements that already exist in the dresses that I thrifted to enhance and give maybe more detail and interest to the garment that I am making out of these thrifted items. It's going to be kind of a pain. I have, as you see, got to pin down all of these little tucks so that they can be cut out of this pattern, but I think it'll be a really great thing that I can do in the end. Okay guys, this is actually my third mock-up of this kind of like upper skirt part for Rosie from Hasbin Hotel. I'm liking this as it is. I know I'm wearing pants underneath it, but she is going to have like underskirt structure, so I will have extra layers underneath my dress, so I feel like it's a good way to accommodate for the fact that I will have like petticoats, probably like Spanx or something underneath. I will have other layers on, so I figured keeping my pants on was a good way to kind of judge for like the extra layers that are going on under the dress. But I'm liking this. I'm liking this. I know it's not perfect, but this is not a competition piece, and I'm kind of trying to get this done in like quick time, right? I scheduled a week, but I think I could probably go a little bit over a week and still be safe to get this done in time. But it's fitting really well. It goes all the way up here to the waist. I'm liking the fit. I decided to go with a third rendition of this pattern, mainly because I wanted to get rid of the darts in the front. So I took it in at the sides and removed the darts from the front, because the dress that I thrifted has some really interesting like draping, like pleats on the chiffon on the top layer. And if I have to dart that, I'm gonna lose that cool effect because it starts at the hip and it kind of like sunbursts across the front of the skirt. I don't want to lose that, so if I remove the darts from the front and take the excess out of the sides, I can preserve that that situation on the front. And since, for medical reasons, I actually had a tummy tuck like 7 years ago. So I don't have like a whole lot to dart anyway. So I can make this pretty flat and get away with it. Not my butt. I definitely am keeping those darts. I have a very curvy backside, so I do need to make sure that I keep those darts, but I'm not trying to put any interesting detail on the back. Yeah, so I think this is it. I think this is what we're gonna go with. The next thing I'm going to do is cut out the pieces and carefully, very carefully, I'll probably stay stitch the like around my front pattern to make sure that I don't lose any of that draping, gathering that's going on in the front, and it stays exactly where I want it to be. I will iron it into place, and then hopefully by stay stitching around the entire circumference of the pattern piece, I can preserve all of that and then sew it into the final garment. And then I will be cutting both the lining and the outer part together because of the way that that is set up. And since I'm going to be doing that for the front, I may as well do that for the back. So I will stay stitch both patterns around the outside in order to keep all of it together. And then the lower part of the skirt is essentially, I'm taking the bodice I took off of a dress, then this is a different dress, and then the lower skirt is actually the bodice part. Like, it belongs to the same dress. So what I'll do is gather everything that I can from the bottom of the maroon dress, not the purple dress that goes in the middle. I'm going to take the whole bottom of that and gather as much of it as I can into this area, like the whole bottom of that dress. So I'm not going to measure or cut, or I'm not going to measure like angles or anything and cut like actual pattern pieces. I'm just going to measure the length, gather it all in, and then stick it on here. So I will only need to pattern out two other things. I have to pattern out the sleeve, which is going to be a fitted sleeve with like kind of a gather poof out the shoulder. And then I need to pattern out the collar, which is going to be a little bit complicated because I'm going to try to do it out of a doily to get the lace on the front of the collar, or around the collar. So I've mapped it out. It looks like it'll fit, and we'll just try it out. If not, I have some backup black lace that I can use for my stash. It's not as pretty as the doily, so I hope I can get that to work out. But we are at a good place right now. Yeah, hopefully I can get this skirt done tonight, and then I can start sleeves, because that's the only other like really difficult part is the sleeves, making sure they fit really well. So, yay! So this is it all cut out with the pins holding all of these pleated details in place so that I can now sew them together into the dress. Going back to the bodice, here I decided to actually just put a panel into the straight middle back in order to change the size of the bodice to fit me. Here are the main pieces of the skirt laid out. I need to gather in this bottom section so that it then matches up with that. And then this black dress I'm going to cut into strips to kind of make into detailing on this skirt portion. Alright, so I have pinned this skirt into place so that my two layers of fabric don't move while I'm cutting it. And I've measured it out to be the same length as that hoop skirt, so that it will match the top that I have over there. So I've measured it to be the same length as the hoop skirt, and I've got a little bit up here left over. That is what we're going to turn into the sleeves. And then this bottom part will again be what I'm putting over the hoop skirt to give that mermaid look at the end. Since I measured and cut the bottom skirt portion of the dress, I can now put on some black striped like details onto the bottom of the skirt. This is just some strips I cut out of like a velvet a velvet dress that I was using for trim. The reason I'm going to do the trim first is so that it's easier to put on. If I tried to do trim later, it would be a pain. So we're gonna do this now, and then sew everything together once we've cut the trim on to the bottom here. So now the trim is on, and I just took a loose gather of the skirt, and we are going to put it onto the bottom of the purple part of the skirt. Now that we have everything kind of figured out in the skirt, I can add the purple and the maroon portions of the skirt together by sewing the gathered top portion of the maroon part to the bottom portion of the purple part of the skirt. This is probably the most annoying thing. I hate sewing gathers, but here we are. We're getting it done, and it's gonna look good, okay? Now that the skirt is fully assembled, we're going to need to go back to focusing on the bodice portion of this dress. I still need to expand it, which I've decided to just put an extra panel in the top, and then I also need to put a new zipper in. With the bodice attached to the skirt, I now need to focus on kind of the chest shoulder area of the dress. This is where I have kind of like mapped out an old doily which I dyed years ago. And I kind of just draped it on here and thought, you know what, this looks perfect. But I don't have a good way of sewing this on machine, so I had to hand tack all of the doily into place onto the front of the bodice of this dress, up over the straps, and then also down in the back. Once I've done that, I'm gonna add like a high collar and a couple of little velvet trim pieces in order to create closure on it. The last portion of this dress we need to work on is the sleeves. She has kind of like a poof at the top of the sleeve, so what I'm taking is my pattern block and copying that and then expanding it so that I can get a gathery poof. So I've copied the top part of this pattern and cut some slits into it and created like an expanded form. So that then once I cut it out of the fabric, it will gather down nicely to create kind of a poof at the top of the sleeve. So the final pattern piece kind of looked like this. We have the poof part and then the lower part of the sleeve that stayed the same, so that I could obviously wear it the way I would wear a normal sleeve. I did taper it in a little bit so it would be closer around the wrist, and then here it is mocked up onto the actual dress. So we have our poof here at the top, and then once I've sewn this all together, we will try it on.
Okay, sorry, disregard these. Actually, I'm getting my eyes accustomed to the scleras specifically for this costume, and I've been wearing them around the house. This is the sleeve. I don't have as much movement as I normally would, but honestly, I think for a very improv sleeve, this works pretty well. I think we're going to keep this the way it is. The only thing I might change, I think I'm going to add just a little bit of length here to the arm of the sleeve. But that's it. This is like, I really like this. I really do. I might possibly add in just a little bit of a dart back into the rear, just so that I can snatch that waist in a little bit, maybe. Cause like it was fine up here at the waist, but because I have a large difference between my waist and my butt, I feel like I kind of need to take in just a little bit here. You know what I'm saying? Give me a little bit more waist. Who knows? Or I can take it in here at the side. Just snatch it in just a little bit. Other than that, I think I'm liking it. We're good. The sleeve hasn't like I said, it's a little bit tighter than I would like, but again, this is kind of a formal dress, and you have gives and takes when it comes to movement. But the sleeve isn't tight in the bicep, where I usually get a lot of tightness because I have bigger arms. So I think this is it. I think this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go cut these pieces out and attach them to the dress. And then we'll work on maybe fine-tuning this like hip area a little bit. Just a little bit. Because you know we want that snatched waist, right? Who knows? We'll improvise that too.
So here we are with the sleeves on, the skirt together, pretty much everything ready to go, except that I need a way to attach this hoop skirt to the inside of this skirt so that it doesn't fall down. I don't want to give it like a waistband that comes all the way up to here, because I do like that this hoop skirt doesn't have a longer waist. I can then multifunction it on other dresses, so I'm gonna put these buttons and some elastic loops around the inside of the gathering on the skirt part of this dress, as well as I need to close. I'm going to put a little bit of elastic on here. I already have the button. I just need to put an elastic loop to hold that closed. And then I'm going to hand stitch in, you can see I have some shoulder pads in here. I really kind of wanted the poof to be a little bit more structured than what it is right now, so we're going to put the shoulder pads, hand stitch those into the sleeves, and then we are pretty much done with this dress and we can move on. Oh wait, hold on. I'm going to pick a trim to go around the waist, so I'm still trying to figure out which one I'm going to do. I have 3 real trims. I have this one, I have this one, and then I have this one that I'm thinking about putting around the waist of the skirt. So those are the last things we got to do, and then the dress is done.
here she is, all done. I did finish the hat before I did final looks on this, so you get a little bit of a sneak peek on the hat, but the dress is now complete, and I am happy with how it turned out.